Only after 2 iterations, we realized Buddy wasn't just chasing leaves. He was completely absorbed, as if the rest of the world disappeared. That kind of presence is something I rarely see in people, especially when stress ramps up.
There's actually research showing that dogs' heart rates drop significantly when they're focused on a simple activity, like sniffing or playing. It's a measurable shift, almost like a built-in mindfulness practice.
But is it realistic for us to model that? If someone's got deadlines or family chaos, can you really just drop everything and chase metaphorical leaves?
Here's the takeaway. We don't need to mimic every behavior, but we can borrow the principle. For example, I started leaving my phone in another room during meals. It's a small shift, but it forces me to focus on the moment, just like Buddy does.
And even short pauses matter. Studies suggest that 2 minutes of mindful breathing can lower cortisol levels. Watching a pet nap or play can be a cue to take that pause, instead of powering through stress.
Still, I wonder if there's a limit. Pets don't have to juggle bills or emails. Isn't there a risk of oversimplifying what presence means for humans?
Absolutely, there are boundaries. But the core lesson isn't about escaping responsibility. It's about finding micro moments of presence within the chaos. That's what Buddy models, and it's surprisingly doable, even on the busiest days. Only after 2 iterations of heartbreak did I realize how different Buddy's comfort felt compared to any advice friends gave me. There's something about a pet's presence, no words, just warmth, that cuts through emotional noise.
That's actually supported by research. In a 2022 survey, over 70% of respondents said their pets help them cope with major life stressors more effectively than conversations with people. The lack of judgment seems to be a key factor.
But can we really say that a pet's support is always more genuine? Isn't it possible that we're projecting our own needs onto them, since they can't actually understand our pain in the same way another person might?
Here's the takeaway. Pets don't try to fix us. Jennifer Skiff calls their love pure because it's free from expectation or agenda. That purity creates a kind of emotional safety net, one that's hard to find in human relationships, where advice or judgment can sneak in, even unintentionally.
And there's a physiological angle too. Studies show that petting a dog or cat can lower cortisol levels and boost oxytocin, which directly impacts our ability to process grief or anxiety. It's not just emotional, it's chemical.
Still, if someone relies only on their pet for comfort, could that limit their ability to heal through human connection? Maybe the ideal is a balance, using that nonverbal support as a bridge back to trusting people again.
That's a fair point. Honoring what pets give us might mean letting their unconditional presence remind us what safe connection feels like so we can seek it out, or even offer it, in our human relationships too. What surprised me most was how Buddy, that little rescue terrier, managed to shift my entire outlook just by doing the simplest things like curling up in a sunbeam or pausing to stretch before a walk. It's almost as if he was modeling a slower, more intentional way to live, without ever trying to teach anything at all.
If you look at the data, nearly 70% of pet owners report feeling emotionally supported by their animals. Yet, culturally, we still tend to frame pets as accessories or entertainment. There's a disconnect between the numbers and the narratives we tell about what pets actually mean to us.
But isn't it possible we're just projecting our needs onto them? I mean, can every animal really be a teacher? Or are we just reading into their behavior because we want to find meaning?
Here's the takeaway. Even if we are projecting, the impact is real. With Buddy, it wasn't about him doing anything extraordinary. It was the consistency of his presence, especially after his adoption. He'd been through a lot, but his calmness, after settling in, made me rethink what resilience actually looks like.
There's also evidence that pets can lower stress hormones and even help people recover from trauma. In Buddy's case, the transformation after adoption wasn't just emotional. Studies show that routines like daily walks can improve both human and animal well-being.
Still, I wonder if we underestimate the emotional impact because we're conditioned to see animals as less complex than humans. If we change that mindset, would more people recognize the lessons pets offer? Or would it just blur the line between companionship and therapy?
That's exactly the point. Maybe the line should be blurred. When we pay attention to those ordinary moments, like Buddy's quiet patience or his joy in small routines, we start to see that pets can teach us about acceptance and healing, even if we don't notice it right away. Only after 2 iterations of trying to keep my shoes organized did I realize my dog, Buddy, was actually making a game out of hiding them. It's funny how what felt like a hassle at first turned into a daily moment of laughter.
That's a great example. There's actually research showing that pet owners report higher daily positive emotions. One study from 2021 found a 15% increase in self-reported joy among people who regularly play with their pets. It seems these small, playful interruptions can have measurable effects.
But why do you think adults tend to overlook those playful moments? Is it just about being busy, or is there something else going on?
I think routine is part of it. We get so focused on efficiency that we forget to notice the little surprises, like how Buddy gets fascinated by a leaf blowing across the floor. Watching him reminds me to slow down and actually see what's around me.
And there's a feedback loop too. When we pause to appreciate those moments, our brains release dopamine, which reinforces the habit of noticing joy. It's almost like our pets are training us to be more mindful.
If that's true, do you think it's possible to deliberately build more of these animal-inspired moments into our routines? Or does it have to be spontaneous to really work?
Here's the takeaway. Even setting aside 5 minutes for a silly game or just observing your pet's curiosity can shift your whole mood. It doesn't have to be elaborate sometimes. Letting yourself join in their wonder is enough to reset your day.
Can you explain why losing a pet can feel as intense as losing a close friend or family member? I've seen studies showing that nearly 70% of pet owners report significant grief, but what's behind that depth of emotion?
Only after 2 iterations of saying goodbye to a childhood dog, then later to a rescue cat, did I realize how much those experiences shaped my capacity for empathy. The heartbreak is real, but so is the growth that follows.
If we're honest, isn't it partly because pets teach us about unconditional love, but also about letting go? I sometimes wonder if that prepares us for other losses in life, or if it just makes us more cautious.
There's actually research linking pet loss to increased emotional intelligence over time. For example, a 2021 survey found that people who'd lost a pet reported higher self-awareness and patience in later relationships, human or otherwise.
Here's the takeaway. Loving a pet transforms us, not just in how we care, but in how we grieve and heal. Anatole France said, "Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. That awakening stays with us, long after the leash is hung up or the food bowl is put away. For every sleepless night or vet bill, there's a lesson in resilience and gratitude. To everyone who's loved and lost a pet, your heart is bigger for it, and that's their lasting legacy." Only after 2 iterations, we realized Buddy wasn't just chasing leaves. He was completely absorbed, as if the rest of the world disappeared. That kind of presence is